So most people who are seriously thinking about retiring in Thailand do exactly the same thing. They spend months researching, they compare one town with another, then somebody recommends somewhere else. So that goes on the list too. And once they've done all that comparing, they do what almost everyone does. They go online and ask a room full of strangers, where should I retire? I want to save you some time here, because I've watched a lot of people go through this, and I've been through a version of it myself. That question, where should I retire, is actually the wrong question. Because there isn't a single best retirement town in Thailand. There's only the best town for you. And those are two very different things. So in this video, I'm not going to give you a top 5 list. I'm not going to rank towns from best to worst. Instead, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I'd choose if I was starting from scratch tomorrow. Knowing everything I know now, having made a few mistakes myself and watched plenty of other people make theirs. By the end of this video, you'll have a way of making this decision that actually fits your life, not mine. And yes, I'll tell you where my own head tends to land later on, but not yet, because if I tell you now, you'll probably stop thinking for yourself, and that's the opposite of what I want. So let's start with the biggest mistake, because I see it all the time. People choose a town because someone else loves it. A mate retires to Hua Hin, has a wonderful time, comes back full of stories, and suddenly Hua Hin becomes the plan. Or they watch a YouTube video, maybe even one of mine, and the person seems so happy in Chiang Mai that it must be the answer. Here's the problem. The person recommending that town isn't you. They didn't grow up where you grew up. They don't have your needs, your budget, your marriage, your taste in food, your tolerance for heat, or your own idea of what a good day looks like. I've met people who moved to a beach town because everyone raved about beach life. 8 months later, they were bored out of their minds. Lovely view, but no real day-to-day rhythm. And I've met people who moved to a busy city because that's what you're supposed to do if you want convenience. It didn't take long before they were fed up with the noise, the traffic, and just wanted somewhere quiet to read a book. Neither group made a stupid decision. They just made someone else's decision instead of their own. And that's why, before we even start talking about towns, we need to talk about you. Not Thailand, you. This is where I think most people skip a step. They jump straight into which town, before they've worked out which life. So ask yourself honestly, do you want quiet or do you want busy? Because some people dream about peace and quiet for 30 years, then discover that after a couple of months, peace and quiet is actually just silence, and they miss the buzz. Do you want the beach or the mountains? They really do feel different day to day. Beach living has its own rhythm, humidity, sea breeze, sand in the car. Mountain towns like Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai have cooler evenings, different scenery, and a completely different pace. Do you want a big city or a smaller town? Do you want to walk almost everywhere, or are you happy driving? Because once you can picture that day, choosing the town becomes much easier. Now, I'm not going to scare you here, because I don't think that helps anyone. But I do want to be honest with you, because this is one area where thinking ahead can save you a genuinely difficult situation later. Healthcare matters more as we get older. That's not controversial, it's just reality of life. The health you have at 55 isn't necessarily the health you have at 70 or 80. The good news is that Thailand has some genuinely excellent private hospitals, world class some of them. The only thing to remember is they aren't spread out evenly across the country. So when you're looking for a town, ask yourself a simple question. If something happened tomorrow, how long would it take to get to a good hospital? 20 minutes? An hour? 2 hours? Could you get there easily by road, or would you be relying on a flight? I'm not saying you need to live next door to a hospital. I'm simply saying it's better to know the answer before you move there than find out by accident. Right, let's talk money, because this is where a lot of people get their sums wrong. They see a lovely condo at a great price, compare it to what they'd pay back home, and think, brilliant, I can afford this. But rent is only one line on a much longer list. There's eating out, transport, whether that's a car, scooter, taxi, or the occasional grab, healthcare, including insurance, which becomes more important as the years go by, trips home to see the family, and then there's the stuff no one budgets for, the unexpected costs, a repair, a visa trip that turns into more of a mission than you expected, a dentist appointment you never saw coming. Here's something I've noticed, and it might sound a bit backward. An affordable town often becomes a happier town. Not because cheaper is automatically better, but because when you're not constantly doing mental maths every time you go out for dinner, you relax. You say yes to more things. You enjoy yourself. You're not spending retirement staring at a spreadsheet, wondering if you should order another coffee. This next bit is something people genuinely underestimate. There's a huge difference between holidaying somewhere and living somewhere. When you're on a holiday, everything feels magical. You don't care that the pavement's a bit uneven because you're only there for a couple of weeks. You don't mind the traffic because you're not sitting in it every day. You don't think about where you'll do your weekly shop because you're on holiday. Living somewhere is a completely different test. Can you walk to a decent coffee shop? Is there a market nearby? Or a supermarket that stocks the things you actually buy? What's the traffic like when you'll really be using the roads? Not at 11 o'clock at night on a YouTube video, but at 5 o'clock on a Friday when everyone's trying to get home. Where would you go for a walk? Is there somewhere to exercise that doesn't involve dodgy motorbikes? These small, ordinary, everyday things end up mattering far more than most people expect. Now here's a real personal one, and I want to be clear, there's no right answer. Some people love being around other expats. There's comfort in that. Shared language, shared humour, someone who knows exactly what you mean when you're having a moan about the immigration office. Other people want the complete opposite. They want to learn some Thai, build friendships with their Thai neighbours, and feel like they're actually part of the local community rather than just living in it. Some towns here naturally lean one way. Others give you a good mix of both. Neither is better. I've met genuinely happy people doing both. The important thing is being honest with yourself about which one actually suits you, not which one you think should suit you. And while we're talking about personal preferences, here's another one no one can answer for you. Climate, heat, humidity, rain, air quality. They sound like simple things, but they affect people in completely different ways. Some people absolutely love tropical heat and humidity. They love the beach towns, the sea breeze, and the warm, sticky air. Other people are ready to escape it after a week and start looking for somewhere a bit cooler. Which is the one reason why places like Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai appeal to some retirees. Now, if you're thinking about northern Thailand, I do have to mention the smoky season. For a few months each year, air quality can drop because of agricultural burning. It's a real issue, and if you've got asthma or other respiratory problems, it's something you need to think about before making a decision about living in that area. Coastal weather has its own patterns too. The rainy season by the sea feels very different from the rainy season in the mountains. I'm not trying to steer you away one from the other. I'm simply saying this. Don't assume you'll react to Thailand's climate the same way someone else does. Go and experience it for yourself. And if possible, visit during the season you're most worried about. Not just during the perfect weather that everyone recommends. Transport is one of those things that hardly anyone thinks about, until it becomes important. How far is the nearest international airport? And how easy is it to get back home when you need to? Because at some point you probably will, whether it's for something happy or something much harder. What are the roads like? Are you planning to drive? And if you are you comfortable driving in Thailand? Or would you rather rely on taxis, Grab, or public transport? And here's one thing people rarely think about. How easy is the local immigration office to deal with? Some are quick and straightforward. Others can turn into a very long morning with a numbered ticket system. It's not something that should decide where you live, but it's part of everyday life when you retire here. Right, so let's say you've thought through all this. You've got a short list, you've got a favourite. Here's where the second biggest mistake usually happens. People buy too quickly. They visit for a couple of weeks, fall in love with the place, and start looking at property before they've really lived there. I completely understand the temptation. It feels decisive. It feels like progress. But renting first is almost always the smarter move. I've seen people buy in their first month and regret it by month 8. Once the excitement wears off and everyday life takes over. I've also seen people rent for a year, realise the town wasn't quite right, and simply move somewhere else. No drama, no expensive mistake, because they hadn't tied themselves down. Give yourself permission to get it wrong the first time. Renting lets you do that. You can change your mind without changing your life. Now here's a bit of advice I don't hear many people talk about. Most people will tell you, visit before you move, and they're right, but I don't think that's enough. Visit during the rainy season. Visit during the hottest time of the year. See the place at its best and at its worst. Walk around after dark, not just in the middle of the day. Shop where the locals shop, not just where the tourists and expats go. Spend at least a month there if you can, not a week. Drive around outside of the nice areas as well. And be careful about taking too much advice from tourists, because tourists and residents are living two completely different versions of the same town. Okay, by now you should have a much clearer picture of what actually matters to you. So here's how I'll put it all together. I use something I call a retirement town scorecard. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's just a simple way of turning a gut feeling into something you can actually compare. Pick 3 or 4 towns you're seriously considering, and then score each one out of 10 in the areas that matter most to you. Healthcare, cost of living, walkability, airport access, climate, safety, things to do, community, infrastructure, and future suitability. Now here's the important bit. There isn't a perfect score. No town gets 10 out of 10 for everything. The place with the best healthcare might not have the best climate. The most walkable town might be more expensive. That's not a flaw, That's just the reality of making trade-offs. And here's why I like the scorecard. It forces you to stop asking, what's the best town? And start asking, what's the best town for me? Because everyone scores things differently. If health is your biggest concern, you'll probably give healthcare more weight. If you're a real social person, you'll probably care more about community. And that's exactly how it should be. This isn't a test with one right answer. It's simply a way of making sure you're choosing a town that fits your priorities, not someone else's. So, after everything we've talked about, where does my own scorecard tend to lead? Well, I'll be honest, I don't think anyone is ever completely neutral. My own priorities naturally pull me towards certain places. Good healthcare, a town that's easy to walk around, a nice balance between having an expat community when you want it without feeling like you've never left home. Those things matter to me. But here's the important part. I'm still not looking for the perfect town, because I don't think it exists. I'm looking for a town that fits my priorities at this stage of my life. And that's something that can even change over time. What works for me today might not be what works for me 10 years from now. And someone watching this video could go through exactly the same process and end up somewhere completely different. Maybe you want complete immersion in Thai culture. Maybe your budget points you in another direction. Maybe cooler weather matters more to you than being close to the beach. None of those answers are wrong. They're just based on different priorities. And that's really the whole point of the video. It was never about crowning one town the winner. It was about helping you find your winner. So here's where that leaves us. The perfect retirement town in Thailand doesn't exist. I know that probably is not the neat ending you were hoping for, but I honestly think it's the right one. What does exist is the retirement town that's right for you. And the only way to find it is by doing exactly what we've talked about today. If I had to start all over again tomorrow, knowing what I know now, this is exactly how I'd choose. Not by asking strangers on the internet where I should retire, but by working out which place genuinely fits my life. Now I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you had to just pick 3 things, which would be at the top of your retirement checklist? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.